glad you got the chance to do it then. Tying into
I do that by reading mystery stories when I could be doing something that
easier or harder than writing for like other genres?
well, I can just say I've enjoyed it a lot, and I'm kind of driven about it because what I wanted to achieve with those mystery novels, I figured like there was too much what was written in the field of disabilities. Too much of it was, I don't know if sad is the right word. It was too encapsulated. It was like this narrow world. I wanted to show how people can fit into the larger world and how your own life. Another theme that's been very, very important to me is figuring out how parents can live their own lives and find a way to make their own lives rich and meaningful in terms of their supplementary activities beyond being just a mother, right? So I've been working at how you don't have to be a martyr or a hero or something, how you can make things work, how you can, like in lots of people, it hasn't got anything to do with disabilities. Life hands you certain situations and you have to make certain choices, and certain options are cut off for you and then other options open up. Like, for example, my PhD is in creativity theory and giftedness. That was what I wanted to do. I was very, very interested. And that's why I later did all the work in neuropsychology. So I'm very, very interested in how the brain works and why some brains seem to work better than others and in what ways they work better and why some people can be very smart in one way and very dumb in another way, which I can relate to personally. And that really intrigued me. But obviously with Alexis, I had to do a U-turn. And yet, so I don't even have the proper foundation training-wise. I didn't have that kind of special education training. Sometimes I'm glad. And it just happened, and I just found things I had to do. And I think every person wants to find their own meaning in life. They want to find some way they can really contribute something of value.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so getting back to the Claire Burke books, which is what you asked me about, I wanted first of all, I wanted these characters to be real, not stereotypes. And I don't know if you've read any of my books, but I'm actually pretty proud of the Roscoe character, who does have Down's syndrome, how he manages and his kinds of emotion. And I had a very good friend who died a few years ago, and she had Down's. But, there were times through the years when she would talk me down from something and correct me. I remember one amusing incident. I was working in a hospital setting at that point, a mental hospital setting. And it was Friday, and she phoned me up and she says, Emma, I'm sorry to tell you, but Rescue 911 not on tonight. I look and I says, what do you mean it's not on? It's Friday night. I've been working hard all week. I've been looking forward to watching that program. It's the only program I like, and it's not on? And I got all worked up, She said, and she says, calm down, sweetheart. It's all right. What did she say to me? You can read a nice book or something instead. It just put me in total perspective. And yeah, I needed to hear that. So anyway, we went on in various ways. She'd get mad at me sometimes about something because I'd be insensitive, because I sometimes can be, yes. And she'd correct me. And Joe would always tease her about broccoli because she didn't like broccoli. And sometimes he'd speak to me very abruptly because he does that at times, being Italian and short-tempered and male. And even though we have a very good relationship, just for the record, okay? Anyway, she'd say, Joe, You be nice to my Emma. Well, things like that were very touching. I remember those things, and I loved her for it. Anyway, so making the characters real, that was something for me. It was, I do have a character with autism in it, low functioning, very low functioning autistic, who is not really able to talk very much at all. And I have a scene about with a psychologist working with him having a complete meltdown, banging his head against the wall and so forth, actually placed in a padded room because it was that severe, and totally out of it, and unwilling to have, he couldn't have any intervention. He was just totally in his world. And how she managed to unobtrusively and non-invasively and respectfully pull him out of that by basically a process of ignoring, doing her own thing, something that she happened to know would intrigue him because of his desire to stack and organize. And eventually he engaged, but she never pushed. She never pushed at all. She knew better. So things like that, I want to show people that, even if sometimes if people are very difficult, there's a way to relate. If you do it in such a way that you respect their space and their limitations and their freedom, you respect them as fellow human beings, and you go into their world as a guest, tentatively, and without pushing your world and your values at them. Not that I don't really mean we live in separate worlds, because that would go totally against the whole point of inclusion. But at some points in life, all of us, I think, under certain circumstances, we sink back into our own mental space in our own little world. It's safer. It's just safer at times. I don't know if you can relate to that, but where you just want to be alone, and you just